Welcome to Alternatives to AA. This is Joshua Robinson, and I've been 3 years sober.
And I'm Monique Robinson, and I'm 2 years sober. And we're here on a mission to help make the difficult journey of sobriety even easier to manage. Nobody in my world ever thought that I'd actually manage to be sober. So now we're taking what we've learned in the last decade to be able to help you too.
And we're not against AA. We just need to learn how to manage the other 23 hours of the day. From communication to relationships to self-care, we're going to show you how to cope when your triggers try to take you down.
Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. to uncover not only how to live without alcohol, but to thrive in sobriety and to swap out your addiction for a better life with the help of Alternatives to AA. So let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Alternatives to AA. Monique's brother's here today to talk about his experience with Monique when she was drinking and when she was not. So let's start it off.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Rick.
Yeah, this is my brother Rick. He's my younger brother, even though he looks like my older brother. But
some people say I look dead.
What?
I'm joking.
I have not heard that one, but okay. But so we're here to talk about the honesty about what the family members go through when you are in active addiction. So we invited Rick here because he dealt with almost a decade of watching his sister struggle with this. So, do you want to start, or do you want us to ask you questions?
Okay.
I would say start asking me questions.
Right.
I can probably, probably start getting the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So one of the questions we had, in what ways is Monique different in how she acts now compared to when she was drinking heavily?
I mean, I would say the biggest one is she has logic and reason.
That's fair.
So when she was drinking, she would find every excuse to find a way to drink. For example, I remember one time my parents were in Africa. I was at a bachelor party in Canada, so she was home alone, which probably wasn't the smartest thing that we did, but it was just all scheduled and we didn't realize it until about the last week.
Yeah.
Because during that time, we were trying to keep an eye on her. And I get a phone call from her where she's deliriously crying. So I'm thinking, what happened? Like, why is she in trouble? What's going on? She was crying because a tractor trailer, our driveway's up a hill. A tractor trailer wasn't going over the one-lane bridge on our street, so the tractor trailer was backing up our driveway, and our driveway is on enough of a tilt. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm getting on camera. Enough of a tilt that the trailer cut up a piece of the driveway.
Okay.
So she took that as our father is going to blame her for the tractor trailer messing up the driveway when she had nothing to do with it. So
Forgot about this.
so she would try to find many different ways to find an excuse to, I guess, use alcohol to make her feel better.
Yeah.
That's true.
Help with her feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just one of many ways. Another way that she is different, she's a lot nicer. I mean, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the logic and reasoning that she didn't have when she was blackout drunk. She would always try to find different ways to hide the alcohol. Some were clever and some were pretty obvious, but she would find different ways to try to mask, find different ways to try to hide the bottle, and it was hard. And I mean, another story I have is she was drunk, but not to the point of where she was that far gone. So she. Do you want me to stop?
Oh no, you can keep going.
So she tried to say that her body wasn't feeling well, and I was getting ready to take her to a doctor until I had to. My dad was away for the weekend, so he asked me to take care of the pool. I walk up to the pool and I see an open bottle up there. So there was many different places that she would either intentionally or unintentionally hide the bottle, whether it be around the house. Towards the later stages, it was at work.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think throughout it was at work.
It was more later.
Yeah.
It was more later.
But, those are two ways. I can actually have a conversation with her. So
That's good.
I would say that, I think it keeps coming back to when she was drinking, she wasn't thinking straight.
Yeah.
And obviously there's many difficulties to that because she would, this isn't like an exact time frame, but she would be good for 7 days in a week. She would be good for about 3 days, and then 4 days she would be drunk.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
So it's, sometimes it would be 2 to 5, sometimes it would be 5 to 2, just like in a week span, I would say mostly 3 days she'd be sober, 4 days she would be drunk. I don't know why it worked out, but there always seemed to be something that would take her off. And that actually affected me, I'd say the first year after that she was sober. It's because what my family tried to do never worked. I mean, to be perfectly honest, and this might be, it could be brutal, but she wouldn't have gotten sober if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, or somebody else that would have supported
I don't know, because her last relationship, which broke up when they were engaged, wouldn't stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were drinking during that time, and I didn't know you back then. I don't know if you were ever that bad.
I wasn't as bad as Monique, but
no.
Like I would drink probably as much as Monique, but I'm a
little
bigger
bit
guy.
Yeah.
You could handle it a little
so
more.
like it wouldn't affect me as much to the point that my blood was like 0.5 or something.
Yeah, but I would have to agree with Rick. I wouldn't have gotten sober without you, particularly because, like he said, with my last relationship, the other person was not sober, and it just felt like this unfairness that I lived with all the time.
I'm pretty sure that he threw a party the week after one time he went to rehab.
He did.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
He did.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to not drink and be here with all of our friends, and all of our friends were drinking to the point of excess. Some people were planning on staying over, and I was not supposed to drink, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
It's like you're on a diet and everyone's eating this
Cake.
really big cake right in front of you, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's hard to
that's
resist.
Yeah.
That's absolutely how I felt. So that would never have worked out because, there was just no equality there. But with you, I felt safe because I wasn't alone. Like we've talked about in previous podcasts, my big problem was the lonely or the self-lonely that I put myself in. So I agree with you.
Yeah. But going back to right as I brought up that point, before when she met you and you guys were dating, she was sober during that time. I would say almost a year went by, pretty much her first year of sobriety, and I was still scared to really talk with her and be honest with her, because she had so many triggers that and no offense, ridiculous triggers that I didn't want to say something because right now she's off work. I don't know if she's coming back after she has the baby.
Mm-hmm.
But like when we were at work, like we work in the same office, and I would hand her something, and not that I'm saying she does all the time, but like she would type up like the sales order, bring it back to me, and I check it over. If I saw something wrong with that sales order, I'd be afraid to bring it back to Monique, being like, "Hey, can you fix this?"
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know if that would be the trigger, because that would be the trigger at times.
Yeah.
That's true.
It sounds crazy, but yeah, because it's like, oh, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the finger.
Like
it's
anything. I'm sorry.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's such a tiny thing, and for an average person, it might not feel like something.
Yeah.
I would say anything negative in the smallest or biggest of way would set her off, whether it be a disagreement about. I mean, we probably could have disagreed if the sky was light blue or dark blue, and dead serious. Like, we could probably disagree about the color of the sky, and that could have been a trigger. So like the smallest of things.
Yeah.
So for that first year, during her sobriety, like it I was still feeling like I was on pins and needles, because I didn't know what to say. I was still trying to figure out lines of communication with her. And I'm sorry I'm directing this at you.
No, it's
She
okay.
knows this
No,
more.
yeah. No, it's okay.
But like I was still trying to figure out those lines of communication.
Yeah.
And there would be the times where, say we did get into an argument on something, whether it be at work or family, whatever, I would feel horrible afterwards, because I wouldn't know if she would get those feelings again. Now I had the trust that she had you as the backbone, but you were still new in our family's life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know what was going to happen. So
Yeah, that's scary.
yeah.
You were kind of almost triggered in a way, like by her triggeredness.
It was like a counter trigger.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a trigger. It was like a reservedness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was trying to be as reserved as possible, and I couldn't always be as reserved because I am human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would come to those points where if I did get in that argument, just repeating what I said before, if I did get in that argument, then like I would feel bad afterwards, and I wouldn't always apologize because I knew I was right.
Yeah.
Even times when I knew I was right, sometimes I would apologize when I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Just to be like, okay, hopefully I didn't set her off.
Yeah.
Because that was always a worry for me. Now, after that year, it got better. Definitely not as much, but it got better.
Mm-hmm.
And now we could probably debate the color of the sky now. It's pretty okay.
Yeah.
I think now I can have a proper argument,
Yeah.
whether it be rational or irrational,
Mm-hmm.
with her, and I don't think that she's gonna hop off the bandwagon
No.
per se.
No. I do apologize for like putting you through that, because that must have really sucked. Like just sitting there like waiting for me to go off the deep end again.
Yeah,
But like I appreciate that now I feel that we have a pretty open relationship, and like pretty much nothing's off limits.
no,
So
I'm pretty much talk to you about anything now.
Yeah.
I would say. And yeah, actually, pretty much anything. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy how that changed, right?
yeah, but I mean, like that's the beauty of sobriety, is you can get to that point with people, like where there's a level of trust where it's like, okay, you're not gonna just go off the deep end and leave me again. Like you're still gonna be there. You might be pissed at me for a day, but you're normal people pissed, not I'm gonna go drink and screw you pissed.
Well, and when you were first sober, I think the best word that you said there was trust. I mean, I think during the beginning, I did not trust you,
Of course.
because there would be times, because it was it was 10 years,
Mhm.
I would say. There would be times where you would be sober,
Mhm.
and it would be great. But I honestly think the longest you lasted was maybe 6 weeks?
No, I got 10, 11 months a couple times. But not mentally sober. I was physically sober, but not necessarily mentally.
You were still triggered.
I was still very triggered.
Okay. Maybe I'm getting that confused. It's been.
I mean, a lot of those
there are a lot
rehab.
of there are a lot of. I wasn't even including rehab during that time because. What was the longest time you spent in rehab?
Longest. So that was when I was in Florida. I was in the program for 6 weeks, and then I lived in a sober living house for 4.5 months down there. So I was gone for 6 months.
Okay, all right.
So that was 6 months.
I didn't see you.
Yeah, and then I was sober for 5 months after that. And then
Did it upset you that we never visited?
Mom and Dad came.
Okay, I forgot that.
Yeah, well, they came once.
Yeah.
But while I was in the 6-week program.
Okay, so never in the halfway house?
No. But truthfully,
is that a halfway house?
Yeah, it was halfway house, okay. Yeah. But truthfully, I worked 6 days a week, and I had so many meetings that I had to, I was required to do and everything. I barely had time for myself, which was good to an extent. But it didn't give me enough healing time, too, while I was doing all that, because I was so busy that I didn't have time to, sit there and actually, calm down.
And feel the feelings.
And feel sometimes.
You're more numbing yourself with the work instead of alcohol.
Yeah, and I guess towards the end it did start to bother me. That's why, because I was supposed to stay in the halfway house for 6 months. But
you were there for 4?
I was there for 4.5.
Okay.
Because I missed you guys. I really did. And I just wanted to be back home. Wanted to be with my stuff, wanted to be with my people.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, it kind of sounds bad, but it was nice to be away from you.
I know. I'm sure.
So, that's probably the reason I never visited.
No, at that time, we really didn't have a relationship except for when, I would be set off by whatever. So I'm sure it was kind of a blessing to be away from that for a while.
You sent me a letter when you were down there.
Yeah, I did.
I never opened it.
Oh, okay.
Because, to be honest, I wasn't going to believe what you were going to say. I don't know what you were going to say.
It was an apology. It was kind of an explanation. It was a couple pages, but it was while I was in the halfway house. They asked us to write letters to a couple of our family members who we really wanted to apologize to.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you for not opening it, and not believing it.
I still have it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I just never opened it.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'll ever open it, but I just during
I've hopefully apologized enough in person that
you
that
have
covers
you
that.
have that part is, not to take away, but just during that time,
mm-hmm.
there was a lot of frustration and anger that I wasn't going to believe what you were going to say.
I believe that.
So
yeah, you're just
yeah. I distinctly remember that month because I got myself sober for just the month of December to get through the holiday. And I literally got myself blackout beyond blackout drunk on the 26th. And that's when I got my DUI. And then 3 days later, I was on a plane to Florida. That's literally the timeline. It was, I left on the 29th.
Yeah.
And I stayed down there for, 6 months. 6 months total. So, came back in June. But I do remember I came back and I was freezing because I'm so used to Florida weather at that point.
Yeah.
And it was June and I was freezing.
I was just down in Florida for the Daytona 500 and coming back here was not as fun.
Yeah.
I used all my pants up. I had to come back in shorts.
Yeah. But I totally don't blame you for not opening that letter. I do remember writing it because at that point I was more sane and more with it. But I had said before too, I wasn't totally understanding all my feelings and my triggers and everything. So at this point I have a pretty good handle on them.
Yeah.
I'm still always on the lookout just in case, because that's the one thing about getting sober. I trust myself a lot more, but I still don't fully trust myself. So I'm always on a little bit of guard. at this point.
Has your trust built up over the past couple of years?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I trust myself more than I've ever trusted myself at this point. But, there's still new things that, like, are coming, especially, like, baby on the way, like, things like that. Like, I know I wouldn't hurt her, but, like, I'm still on guard a little bit because, like, that, like, if I'm having a bad day, like, is that going to trigger me? I'm 99% sure it will not, but, like, I still have to be vigilant. Because I was so bad for so long. And like you said, like, I didn't have logic then. And so I try to stay on guard just to be extra careful. So I'm probably being, like, over careful with certain things, but I'd rather be over careful than end up back in my hole.
Right. Well, because I'm thinking, I mean, it's easier to be around you now, obviously. We've gone over that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, too, when Josh went away for his DUIs,
mm-hmm.
you fell off, like,
Yep.
pretty much, like, a day and a half later.
I think it was 3 days. Or
Yeah,
was it a day and a half?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, that
It
part
was
doesn't-
It was still quick.
It was very quick.
Yes.
So, and, I mean, that was the weird blessing of COVID, was it got Josh out of prison.
Yep.
But, I mean...
No, it's funny because when she called me up and, like, she didn't admit that she was drinking, but I knew. And after I hung up the phone, I just, like, went up to my cell and I just, like, started crying out and, like, praying, like, hard, like, please get me out of here. And then not that long after, I saw on the news, like, they're gonna release some people, and I was like, I might be one of those people, and then I was.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I just remember him telling me, like, a day or two before, like, I could be coming home. And at that point, I was trying to get myself sober again. And, like, I was sober when he got home. He was only gone 10 days, but I managed to be drunk for about the 5 middle.
But, I mean, now that you've been out of it for a few years now, say he has to go somewhere.
I wouldn't. No.
Okay. But I know that, like...
Yeah.
I mean, I understand.
I still have that thought.
Yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm almost 3 years now. Like, on the April 23rd, I'll be 3 years. And at this point, like I said before, I think I have a handle on most of my triggers. And I know one of my triggers is loneliness. So, like, if, God forbid, he had to be away, I would probably come stay at the house for a little bit. So, or go to a friend's house, or do something to make sure I wasn't home alone too much.
Yeah.
But especially with our little girl on the way, like, she would not let me be lonely. She'd be needing me. So, like, even that would keep me from that lonely feeling. You know what I mean? Like...
Is there any thoughts on that when she's born?
What do you mean?
Like, triggers changing? Because I know hormones are going to be all over the place for you.
Well, that's why I said to you before, like, that's why I know I'm always having to be vigilant. And I will be for a long time. Because... And so anytime I'm feeling weird, I do talk about it now.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked to you about it at work. I've talked to Josh about it at home. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I speak up now.
Just, like, get it out instead of, like, being, like...
It's safer for me.
Embarrassed about it, and then, I'm going to go hide and no one's going to see me kind of thing.
Yeah, so sometimes I know I talk my feelings out loud a little too much. I know it's probably annoying sometimes. But it's a safety mechanism for me.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd rather that than an alternative.
Well, that's what I figure. Like, anybody in our family or, whatever, they'd rather me talk and babble their ear off than me be drunk.
Right.
Any day of the week. So I know now, like, that's how I can cope.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
But... we've talked a lot about, like, the postpartum period, and I'm actually doing this special program to help me, like, work on the hormones, like, making it less and things like that, and just being around, like,
you're probably going to say what you're taking? Or...
I mean, I could talk about it. So, basically, the placenta, it's where a lot of the hormones are.
Oh, you told me.
Yeah, and it's getting dehydrated into pills to help me not have such a major crash of hormones.
Wait, no, you didn't tell me this. I thought you were talking about the shots that you had to take.
No, that's currently while I'm pregnant.
Well, yeah, that's pregnant. Okay, so your placenta is going to be what, dried and dissolved into pills?
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All mammals besides humans actually eat their own placenta after giving birth. I will not be eating it.
Some also eat their young.
Well, yes. Yes. We're not doing that, obviously.
We're
But
a little
no,
more
like,
civil.
yeah. But, so they're gonna dehydrate it and make it into pills so I won't have such a major hormone crash. To hopefully prevent, like, postpartum depression and anxiety. Yeah, so it'll be, like, but Josh was saying, because that's right when it stopped, a lot of postpartum depression, there's situational things too, like you don't have support of the family, or you're feeling alone, or you're just feeling like not like yourself, all those things. But again, that's triggers that I've had to deal with getting sober. So again, I've learned to talk, where a lot of women, they feel guilt for having these feelings, so they just keep it to themselves and it just compounds. But I know that's not safe for me. I have to talk it out. And if I talk it out, then I'm perfectly safe, I'm perfectly fine, type of thing. So we have talked about how, like, because that was a little bit of a concern, with everything that's been in the news lately. So.
What about COVID?
No, there was a woman, I forget where, but she had 3 children at home, and I guess she was having major postpartum depression, and the husband was told, do not leave her alone with the kids, and he went out for 30 minutes to go get dinner, and by the time he got home, all 3 of his children were dead. And she was trying to commit suicide.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's probably been more in, like, my circle than, like, what you've seen, just because of, like, being on, like, the mom blogs and everything. But because of it, I wanted to talk it out with Josh about how I was feeling about it, and that's where we came up with the decisions we have made so far.
But
it's a safety thing.
But I could definitely see how, like, people get frustrated and throw their kid against the wall and stuff, because, like, when a baby's crying and you can't do anything about it, you just feel like a total failure.
Right.
And so then it's like internalized, and you're like, I'm a bad person. Oh, maybe I'll just do something bad.
Yeah, it's just like,
but it's
in
a
the
very
heat of the moment.
extreme thing. But it like, my friend Brian told me about that. He's like, you just got to go in the other room and, like, punch a pillow. It's like, just do something if you're that upset about it. But it's not like an everyday thing, but it can get like that from what I've heard.
Yeah. But I think it's a lot to do with moms feeling guilt that they're having bad feelings, because they're supposed to be the nurturer, the carer, the lover, and, like, they're just having a bad day because they've got no sleep, they didn't get a shower, they feel like crap, and, like, there's just overwhelming feelings.
Yeah.
But, like I've talked about, like, when I'm having overwhelming feelings at all, I just start talking to you guys, because that keeps me safe.
Yeah.
So like I said, I would rather babble for 2 hours at you guys than go back to the bottle any time of the week.
Fair enough.
So, it might be a long 2 hours for you, and I apologize, but it's a safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how often were you worried about, like, Monique's health and life? Like, were you scared that she was gonna, like, just randomly, like, drink too much and crash the car? Or,
I mean, that happened. So,
no, actually, the car accident was not my fault.
in your Ford Escape.
Oh, that one. Forgot about that.
Yeah. So
I did forget about it.
So, I mean, so it was, I would say it. So she was drunk for 10 years. 2 of those years were at the end of college, around the end of college. I honestly really didn't know in college about her drinking. And it's kind of surprising because we went to the same college.
Yeah.
But I didn't know for a while until my mom told me one time. And I I was like, wow, really? I was unaware. I knew that she drank, and I would see her drink because at the beginning, I'm going a little off, but I'll get back to your question. At the beginning, I mean, she was still drinking around us. We did. It just wasn't. It wasn't like a reality to us that she was an alcoholic. So she was still drinking around us, and like there'd be times where I would be home and like we'd be watching TV in the living room, and when like my parents would watch TV in the living room, they would have a glass of wine. So my sister would have a glass of wine, and it would be another. I remember like I would say a couple days before my mom told me we were doing that, and we were watching like a movie or something in the living room, and I hear my mom scream, "Monique, what are you doing?" And I look back because our kitchen is like behind us, and she's drinking straight from the wine bottle.
Oh, Jesus.
So I think around that time was like when the realization of what is happening. So so that's why I first started worrying about it. First couple years, I'd say, because that's probably two. I would say two like 1.5 years into it. First couple years, I was constantly worried. So I was constantly worried. Like, I mean, it would not affect me all the time, day to day, but it would at times, and it would make me depressed. But after a while, there'd be times where I would give up. Like, I'd be like, well, if she dies, and not to say that we didn't try everything, we tried a lot. If she dies, then it's going to be sad, but I'm going to know the reason why.
Yeah.
So I would worry, but it slowly got numb. So my numbness to my worry about my sister became numb, because it happened for so long.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people have had to deal with it and hadn't had that long of time frame to deal with it, and there's probably people that have dealt with it even longer.
Yeah.
So I would assume they probably have somewhat similar feelings there. Yeah, I would say around the 5 to 6 year mark is when it truly became not like numb-ish, because I would still have those upset feelings, but it wouldn't be like it were the years beforehand.
Yeah.
Because the years beforehand, I would constantly worry, and I actually went to therapy because I was getting depressed, and similar to what you said before, being open with your emotions, that's when I started becoming more open with my emotions. Me being more open with my emotions made it easier to cope, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess that might be what I might be calling my numbness to her drinking.
Yeah, but also like you're kind of like protecting yourself.
Yeah.
I had to at that point, because I mean we truly tried everything. She went to rehab. It didn't work. My parents put a lock on the basement, which the basement has a bar. It wouldn't always work. She was old enough to go out and buy her own liquor and hide around the house.
Yeah.
So that didn't work. When she was living alone in this townhouse, there'd be times where I would have to come over, find her, see if she's breathing, search for the alcohol, because she would find many different places to find the alcohol. There'd be times where I would leave her with absolutely nothing. There'd be times where I would leave her with a glass of vodka, being like, "This is what you get, and get yourself sober." Like that, like get yourself sober for a few days.
Yeah.
That's what I was pretty much saying. It's like, all right, this is it. Get yourself sober, and then let's try to go back to step one.
Yeah.
Which was day one of the week or whatever. I'll call it, because she would be good for 3 days, and then it would seem like something would happen on that third day, and then she'd be gone. She'd be drinking her Sprite and Smirnoff for like 4 days. So
Yeah, because I don't. Is this how you kind of like? For me, it was like okay, like I would do the whole week of work, and then I would usually like Friday, Saturday, Sunday drink. So were you kind of like, oh, I was a good girl, now I get my escape?
It was kind of like that, and like usually, like you said, it was 3 days. So usually I'd survive Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then something on Tuesday or Wednesday would set me off, and Wednesday night I'd end up drinking. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'd be gone.
it wouldn't always be that exact schedule. Like,
No.
Sometimes like the beginning of the week would be bad, and then she'd be good for the rest of the week.
That's true. It was
I never saw it as I never saw it as you being a weekend warrior. I don't know if you ever heard that term before.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, you work your 9 to 5 hard from Monday to Friday, and then you let loose on the weekends.
That's kind of what I did.
Yeah.
I tried to do that, but it did not work.
Yeah. No. So I just saw it as you weren't. It wasn't you were punishing yourself. I saw it more as you were. This is my view. You might have a different, but I saw it more as you trying to cope with something.
Yeah, no, that's the absolute truth.
So I never saw it as like a weekend warrior. What sounds like what Josh was doing more, but
yeah,
for sure.
But
no, I mean, like my drinking was always a result of my emotions and not being able to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was 100% that. Whether it was lonely, whether it was angry, whether it was confused, whether it was just frustrated with my life, like, because I was just not happy with it at the time, or just because, like, I felt the weight of the world. Like, pick your poison of that week. It was one of those, and it set me off.
Yeah. So
Lonely was my biggest one, though.
Yeah. No. So going back to the original point, going back to like how was I always in fear of the worst?
Yeah.
I was for a while, and once that I call it my numbness. Once that numbness started to kick in, it would be more like I was coping. This is my life. My life is I have life A, which is me.
Yeah.
And then life A1 was picking up the pieces of what my sister has done.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the start of it, and that's honestly when I started telling my friends about it, because it was obviously out at work, because she would be drunk at work and get pretty drunk at work, and we were trying to hide it for the longest time.
Yeah.
And that was like one thing. Once we started telling people that I'm sorry, the mic is probably blocking me. Once we started telling people about your addiction, that helped me a lot as well with coping.
Because you weren't hiding anymore.
I wasn't hiding anymore. The last person I was like truly on purpose hiding it from was our grandmother, until she found out.
Yeah.
Because she was supposed to go shopping with you or something that day, and you were drunk, and our grandmother came over to my house. That was a weird conversation. So I remember it was like 10:30. I was still in bed, and I hearing the doorbell. My dad was out of the house, so I walked down, and it's my grandmother. I'm not expecting, because she lives about 40 minutes away in Pennsylvania. I'm sorry if you never given out your location, but 40 minutes away in Pennsylvania. So seeing her was kind of a shock, because she was late 80s at that point. She's in her early 90s now, which is amazing. She comes over and she's like, something's wrong with Monique. And right then there, I was like, all right, jig's up. Yep. For some reason, that was like one of the last things my mom wanted our grandmother to see, was Monique like that. And then she finally saw it. And there was no hiding at that point.
Right.
So, and it felt bad that I hid it from her that long, but it was like one of the things my mom, I think that was a big driving force in kind of keeping it private, was was our mom.
Mhm.
Because my mom, when she was dying of lung cancer, she didn't want anyone to see.
Yeah.
And, like, towards the end, a couple of people did, but she didn't want anyone to see. So I think that was just a big driving force of that, was my mother.
Yeah.
And not to say that my mother was in the wrong. My mother was trying to protect us. And it was just getting too much there.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're trying to protect, you overprotect, and
Yeah.
then you actually make the person weaker.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was one of the things that did kind of, like, I guess it let me get away with it too long because I was protected.
That could have been it.
I think that was a problem for me, and, like, again, that's why I'm so almost bluntly honest about who I am at this point, because I don't want to hide anymore, because when I hid, I was in trouble.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why, you know, sometimes, like, I know I've had conversations with you, like, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but, like, you've been, like, surprised that I've been admitting something to you, and, or, like, you kind of had, like, a look of shock for, like, 2 seconds, and then you just kind of are like, okay, she's telling me this.
Yeah.
But, again, I'd rather tell you than end up in the hole again.
Yeah.
So, I think the hiding it taught me even to hide it around here, because I'd hide liquor around here for myself.
Yeah, no.
Like a year.
I've had to search for it.
Oh, I know. But like the worst was, I was over a year sober, and Josh and I were in the storage room, and I was moving stuff, and there was a full bottle of vodka in the back, totally closed. But I was like, oh my God, I freaked out. He comes running. He's like, what happened? I was like, I swear to God, I didn't buy this. I don't know where it's from. I don't know when it's from. And he's like, it's sealed, and it was behind all this crap that hasn't moved for, like, years, like, since I've been here. So, yes, I know you're telling the truth. Yeah. But I felt so bad.
Like, you were you thinking, like, he was going to be like, oh my God, gotcha? Kind of thing?
No, it wasn't even, oh my God, gotcha. It was like, I was afraid he wasn't going to believe me because I had lied before, even to him, you know, about my drinking. So I was terrified that, like, I wouldn't be believed. But I mean, it was a full bottle, it was sealed, you know, and we went upstairs, we dumped it down the drain.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it wasn't a thing. I just felt such immense, insane guilt. Because I was finally, for the first time ever, over a year sober, you know, with many starts and fails over the years.
Yeah.
Like, I'd finally made it over a year, and then we find this frickin' bottle. I was like, oh my God, it's karma! It's coming to get me!
I mean, the good thing about that is you didn't, like, see it and then try to hide it from him.
No.
That's true.
So that's an improvement.
I screamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
He thought I was hurt.
Yeah.
You almost were.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, so you were talking about your numbness before. So I know, like, trying to give you a clue of who I'm talking about, without saying their name because they're not on the show. Someone who used to work with us and moved. That is one of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for a good year, she decided, like, not to punch out at the clock herself at 5 o'clock. She would have another member punch her out because she was so terrified to see me. Like, did you ever go through a period of that? Where you just, like, you did not want to see me? Because she told me it was, like, literally watching The Living Dead, and it was, like, breaking her heart. So she would have someone else punch her out. I thought I always just missed her at the clock, but she literally had someone else punch her so I would not run into her.
I never knew that was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good assessment, especially when you got in your way. Would I not want to see you, like, when you were sober?
Even when I was sober or like during that period,
it was never. So when you were drunk, I never wanted to see you, but I had to.
Right.
So like that was what it was.
Okay.
When you were sober, it wasn't like I didn't want to see you. It was just my words were not going to. So going back, kind of. I guess this might be part of it too. Was like when I was in my numbness. I think during that time, I stopped trying to plead with you.
Yeah.
Because my pleas weren't working. Mm-hmm. So I would try to find conversation in something else. Like, I mean, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I would bring up Harry Potter to talk about Harry Potter because you're a big Harry Potter fan.
Okay.
So it'd be like things like that. And if drinking did come up, then I would... At times, I would probably shy away from it because I knew it would just be meaningless. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say I didn't want to see you. Like when you were sober. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Burping. When you were sober, I had no problem being around you. It was just the fact that I was on pins and needles because I didn't want to be the one that triggered you.
Gotcha.
And that was another thing was like if I wasn't the one that triggered you, I would be probably more okay to see you when you were drunk. But if I felt like I was the one to trigger you, then that would make me feel bad. Mm-hmm. Because it'd be like, okay, I put her in this spot. I shouldn't have because it was just your mental state at the time.
Yeah.
But I like air quotes for those listening. I put her in that spot. So that was my feeling when you were drunk, and I think it was whether it be an argument we had.
Thanks for listening to Alternatives to AA. If you would like to contact us directly, please shoot us an email at alternatives2aa2021@gmail.com. We also hope that you continue to join us on Mondays at 6 p.m. You can watch us live on YouTube. You can subscribe to us that way as well. You can leave us a 5-star rating and follow us on Spotify. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, we ask that you please leave a rating and an honest review.
We'll see you next week. Bye.